Check, check, check. What's up, y'all? This is Wax, and this is Wax's podcast. Oh, wait, Wax's podcast. Talking mad shit about uninteresting facts. Wax's podcast. Live from Fort Stockton, Texas. Yeah. This is episode 62. I'm sitting outside of a motel, a Super 8 motel here in Fort Stockton, Texas, in the lovely city. The most beautiful oasis that has ever been seen by mankind. It can only be compared to a very beautiful mirage in the desert. If you were walking in the desert for days on end and you saw a mirage, it was just a bunch of naked, beautiful women, water everywhere, food beyond belief, just delicious, amazing abundance, wealth, and gloriousness. It would be just like this, except in the case of Fort Stockton, Texas, it's not going to disappear when you get close to it. It's going to still be there. And if you want to go to McDonald's or if you want to go to Subway, you came to the right fucking place. But in all honesty, I am here in Fort Stockton, Texas. I'm on my way to Houston, Texas with a small crew because I'm about to go on tour all fucking summer, which has become it's become a thing for me. Like, I used to dream when I was a kid. I used to, dream and hope that, when I got older, I could make a living off music, That was always my goal. Never really to be like a rock star or anything like that, but I always wanted to make a living off it. Maybe when I was a little kid, I wanted to be a rock star. But once I got into playing music, I just thought it would be cool, instead of having to fucking wash dishes. And then later in life, once I finished college and actually became part of the corporate workforce, instead of having to be a part of the corporate workforce, maybe I could fucking travel around the world, or at least around the country, or at the very least around my local area, and play music for a living. And now that dream has come true, at least for the last couple of years, and it's become pretty normal for me to be gone for months at a time, traveling and playing shows. And this summer is no different, as I will be on the Vans Warped Tour, like I said. Go check out, I don't know the exact fucking web address, just Google Vans Warped Tour dates and find where I'm playing next to you. Like I said last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago, because I didn't do a podcast last week, and I apologize for that. I will not be at the Canada dates. Unfortunately, I will only be at the United States Warped Tour dates this year. So come check me out. Sorry, Canadians. But that's just the way the Canadian cookie crumbles. Is there even a specific cookie that's known for being from Canada? I don't know. I don't know too much about Canadian food other than bacon, which is actually ham, just with a fancy name. What's going on? So, like I said, I'm here in Texas, and I'm going to really... I know I said this... Sometime last year, I went on a really long tour, and I said at the beginning of the tour that I was going to try to do a podcast every week. But I think on this one, it'll be a lot easier because, I say that I do a lot of things, and it's become a regular thing. But what is not regular, what is not normal, is this will be the first tour where I've been on a tour bus. I'm not on one right now. I'm just in a car or SUV with a trailer. But when we get to Houston, we are going to rendezvous with the tour bus. And I'm really excited about that. Have a lot of free space. Usually we're in a van or something even smaller. In order to do a podcast, the guy next to me can't, he's going to hear everything. You're going to hear him sniffling and sneezing and asking me if I can plug his phone charger in, or asking me if I can pick his backpack up so he can get his fucking potato chips he bought at the last gas station / truck stop. None of that this time. I will actually have like a fucking sleeping bed. It's like an unnecessary adjective right there. A sleeping bed. It's like I'll have a sleeping bed inside of our driving bus, and then once we get to the resting hotel, no, we won't even really have too many hotels this time because you can sleep right there on the bus, and I'll probably record this podcast right there inside my little bunk or somewhere inside of there. And I think that maybe I'll have some special guests on the podcast, upcoming podcasts. The on-the-road editions. I'm going to really try to get this on... You guys listening to this fucking thing just think I'm fucking full of shit, don't you? There's been so many promises, so many broken promises on this podcast. But that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. Sorry for taking that sip of coffee. I'm sure you can hear the truck. I just fucking spilled my coffee. Fuck. God damn it. Alright, I'm walking on over to the side. There's like trucks, like you don't even know, but while I've been saying this podcast, keep in mind I'm in Texas too, so that people are very Texan around here. No offense to anybody from Texas, but you know very well what I'm talking about. People looking at me while I'm talking to my computer in front of the hotel think I'm fucking crazy. And they give me funny looks, and there's already been like 3 people that walk by. And you know what? Until I spilled my coffee and a loud truck pulled in front, I haven't wavered. I'm trying to let, as I get older, I get a little better at it, but I'm really trying to go with the whole, I don't give a fuck what people think of me thing. Drop the ego, drop caring what people think of me. Other than you podcast listeners, I want you guys to love me, but, just trying to not give a fuck about people looking at me and thinking I'm weird or whatever. I don't fucking care. They can think I'm weird all they want, and if they really want to take it a step further, they can eat my shit if they want to do that as well. So anyway, I'm going to be on the doing the on-the-road editions of the podcast. This podcast is episode 62. I'm not going to change the numbers. I'm not going to change the numbers for the on-the-road edition, but I will be trying to incorporate some special guests, incorporate some... I'll be traveling with Watsky. I'll be traveling with EOM. I'll be traveling with master bass player Kurt Blankenship. And I'll be trying to have some special guests on the podcast, talking to you about tour life, talking about what it's like to be on the road, or maybe even talking about current events or things that are happening in the neighborhood, things that are happening in the world, things that are happening in the world, celebrities, entertainment news, sports news. I don't fucking know what we're going to talk about, man, but I really am going to try, especially considering the fact that I missed last week's podcast. And I haven't put out new music or any fucking YouTube videos or anything in so long. I gotta at least put out something. I mean, I have to deserve this, right? I'm traveling in a fucking tour bus. Don't I have to fucking deserve it, right? I gotta be doing work. I gotta be putting out content, so they say. You know? I got people around me putting in work. EOM's making new beats. Boy, Watsky just is dropping an album. He's got videos. He's recording. He's doing all kinds of shit. What am I doing? I can't even do a fucking podcast once a week. What the fuck? That's what kind of man I am? Is that what it is? But, what else is going on in my life? So that's what, alright, I'm going to do a podcast for the tour. I'm in Fort Stockton, Texas, in the middle of a hotel parking lot, walking around with a laptop like a maniac. I am recording this on GarageBand, so I apologize for any lack of quality. The funny thing is, I'm so shitty at engineering sometimes, it'll probably sound better like this than it does when I do it with a professional microphone and shit. But, hold up. Been traveling excuse me. God damn, that's going to be a really loud throat clear. So, hopefully that, I don't know what I was going to say after, hopefully. Been traveling a lot recently. I took a little trip to Maryland to see my sister's son, Chris, graduate from high school. He graduated from high school from the same venue that I graduated from. Shout out to anybody here, anybody listening who knows where the Prince George's County Equestrian Center is. Yeah. That's where I graduated from high school. Walked down the little thing with my little tassel to the left or whatever side it starts on, and then it ended with it on the right or left or whatever side it ends on. So congratulations to my nephew Chris. It was a nice ceremony. The fucked up high school graduations, they have the class president talks, some fucking like board of education person talks, the principal talks, the valedictorian talks, and then the salutatorian talks. Those are all the people that talk at the graduation. And it's really, they really should consult with each other before, they write their speeches and they go up and say them. They really should all have a pre-meeting and talk about what they're going to say, because they were using the same fucking quotes, making the same points, and just got repetitive. So, if you have if you want to inquire about any other advice that I have as far as high school graduation ceremonies, feel free to hit me up on Twitter or hit me up at beatsforwax@gmail.com. And maybe you run a high school graduation consulting firm and they're looking for interns, I'm your man. Speaking of nothing related to what I just said, I did want to say this. If you go to my website, because me and my brother, mad long ago, like fucking a year ago, we were talking about how we could either make money off this podcast or get a sponsor for this podcast. And if any of you remember, what we did is my brother signed up this thing. So, like, I have kind of like a thing with Amazon.com. It's not like I had to, like, I think anybody can do this. But if you go to my website and click on podcasts, there's a link that you can click on that takes you to Amazon.com. And now anything you buy off Amazon.com, I get some really, really small percentage of what you buy. And I'm trying to start mentioning that every podcast. I did a couple months ago because we were going to use all the money for the herbal tea mixing fund. Now, there wasn't much money in the herbal tea mixing fund, but we did make use of it, and his album is out now. So now I think the money that we make from this podcast will just go to, I don't know, because it's going to be a small amount. So I don't know exactly what it's going to go to, but if you have any suggestions, hit me up on Twitter and or on my email, beatsforwax@gmail.com, which I'm a little behind on, as I say every week. And, give me some advice on what we could do with the money. Or I could just fucking keep it and put it in my pocket and spend it on dumb shit. And if you think that's a good idea, do that too. A lot of podcasts I've listened to before, they don't have some thing they do with the money. They just have the money. But the reason I just want to make sure, like, we went through the trouble of signing up for this shit. Might as well say it on the podcast that I have that. So, it's Father's Day this weekend. So if you want to buy something for your dad and you're going to go to Amazon anyway, it's not like it increases the price to click on my website and then they give me the difference. It's the same price and they give me a percentage. So if you're going to buy something for your dad on Amazon, as I probably will, God damn, I got to get something for him. I haven't got anything for my dad for Father's Day yet. But if you are going to, go to my website, wax.com. That's WAXDOTCOM.com. Click on podcasts and click on the link that what the fuck am I talking about? The link that has blah, 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 that has the Amazon thing. It's hard for me to stay focused out here. There's so much stimulus in the area that I'm at. There's trucks driving by. There's funny looking people walking by. There's people driving by. If you want to get a picture of where I'm at, let me give you a little fucking verbal/mental image. We stayed at the Super 8, which, funnily enough, I've said this before. The funny thing about shitty hotels is that they usually have the most comfortable fucking bed. That's not always true, but it was last night, Jesus. But the funny thing is, I've stayed at mad, like, boutique, nice hotels all around the world, from fucking Paris to New York City to goddamn wherever, Los Angeles to wherever. And you always got to pay like $20 for the internet, then it's slow as shit. But every time you stay at a fucking Super 8, they got like 10 different wireless things you can connect to. There's never a password. It's fast as shit, and you're good to go. So, for whatever reason, that's the case. The higher up you get, the more they charge you for shit. It should be free. Because people don't give a fuck about that. All right, so if you look... All right, I turn one direction, and I'm looking at this place. It's not a truck stop. It's like a truck repair shop. It looks like something, when I say truck, I mean like Mack trucks, like fucking, like a truck. Not a pickup truck. It's like an industrial park looking spot where it looks like they're, I don't know, it's fucking loud as shit. Look the other way, I'm looking directly at the hotel. I'm walking around in the hotel with my laptop, talking into it like a madman. And I look directly at the hotel. I look the other way, I'm looking at the car that's next to me. I look the other way, I'm looking at the street. This is one of those towns that is just an oasis. It's built on the side of a major highway that a lot of people pass along. And probably a lot of these businesses, while this town it's not like it's just a truck stop. Like this is a town where I'm sure they have, like, there's a high school around here. There's a Walmart I can see from here, which the Walmart probably services a 300-mile radius. And, like, goddamn, a trip to Walmart is like a whole weekend out here. But, it's not the kind of town that just has, like, one gas station and one hotel. Like, there's a bunch of shit. And I don't know what my point was with that. But I was going to say that some of these restaurants always have traveling folks, but that's probably not true. I bet you when it is true, anybody who's in that restaurant, if somebody comes in that they don't know, I don't know what the fuck I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is everybody in this town probably kind of knows each other. That's what I'm trying to say. And I'm just using a bunch of stereotypical thoughts to base my judgments. on which to base my judgments, on which to judge my basements. I don't know. Gotta keep thinking of shit like that. Yesterday I thought of, one of you fucking assholes gonna steal this, but we were like, I meant, this was an accident, I meant to say pleasant surprise. I guess I just fucked it up and I said present supplies, and I thought that'd be a cool thing. It's weird how that you can switch that and they're both words. And I just said base judgments and judge basements. And that's the same thing. I'm going to actually fucking write that down on my phone right now while I'm doing the podcast. I don't know how to, that sounds more like something I could say on Twitter or something. You know, I never fucking use my social media anymore. I don't know why, but I've just been fucking, like, I never post pictures on Instagram. I never tweet funny things. I never fucking put anything on Facebook. I don't know why. But, I want to change that as well, people. I want to really let my fans and my friends on my life, as social media is supposed to do. I don't know. I don't know. I've just been kind of like not into it and into that shit recently. I feel like, you know, I don't really have anything to talk about. I'm just been driving down the road, you know. I'm not a photographer. You know, when Instagram first came out, I kind of was really into taking photos and posting them, and I thought it was cool, and, you know, it turned everybody into a photographer. But now the people like me that realize they're not photographers kind of fell back a little bit. Instagram is an interesting fucking thing, man. I think it's really, the interesting thing about Instagram to me, the most interesting thing, is how you can become famous on there and have like hundreds of thousands of followers and just really be a hot chick, you know? Like, just for being a hot chick, you can be famous. And it's interesting because there's chicks that's what they're famous for. And, like, you know, they're at home and they do these intricate photos and they have, I mean, fucking very risque photos. And we just, you know, we just didn't have that shit. Like, when I was the age of some of these chicks, some of these 18-year-old chicks, probably 15-year-old chicks, like, we didn't have shit like that. We didn't have these avenues where you could post these things to the world. And everybody that gets older and older always assumes that the younger generation is more slutty and more sexually promiscuous than they were. And I think, promiscuousness aside, sluttiness aside, at the very least, I think with this generation there's more access, you know? I always tell people that I remember being in middle school. I'm not going to name their names, but I know their fucking names. There was two girls, and one of them was showing the other one. She had her hand on her wrist and was using her left arm, like, basically, essentially, her left arm would be a penis, and her right hand would be what she'd use to jerk a dude off. And she was showing another girl a technique on how to do it. Like, you can picture that. Like, put your right hand on your left wrist and kind of move it up and down as if you were jerking your left wrist off. And she was doing that, and the other girl had her hand doing the same thing, and she was watching and you know, following along as if it was like an instructional video, you know? And I got to imagine that things like that don't happen now, because if you want to learn how to do that, you have an encyclopedia of shit like that at your fingertips with your phone. And if for some reason you don't have a smartphone, which is very unlikely, you have the internet in some kind of way, and you can find things out like that, you know? You can find out. You can go. The access to porn is crazy. When I was a kid and you had porn, if you had a porno magazine, it was like finding gold. That shit was gold, and you had to hide it with everything you believed in, and you just, like, that's what you had, you know? And if you didn't have that, you might have to masturbate to the fucking, like Ben Stiller did on Something About Mary. You might have to masturbate to the catalogs that came with the newspaper. Now that you probably don't even, now you kids listening are probably, what is that? What catalogs that came with what newspapers? We don't actually read things that are made out of paper anymore, much less jerk off to things that are made out of paper. So you're probably very confused as to what I'm talking about. But I remember those days when porn was actually considered more valuable. But nowadays, it's right there at your fingertips. And I'm sure I've talked about it on the podcast before, but I think probably a lot of young people get the wrong idea based on porn. You know, especially if you're not taught properly about sex, which nobody is. Nobody's taught properly about sex by their peers or by their parents, because their peers make it something that's not and their parents dress it up to be something more beautiful than they goddamn know it is. And porn just makes it seem, if you didn't have, if you think porn is what sex really is, then that's kind of scary, Like if I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think a lot of these young chicks probably think the whole finishing on the face thing is normal, because that means shit. 80% of porn, that's how it's done. That's how it's finished. So I think that's I don't know if that's good or bad or just plain weird. I mean, I guess it's better than. You know what? Maybe I'm on the wrong page here, because we don't want teenage pregnancy. That's not something we want. When I was a kid, you learned that sex was you put the penis into the vagina, and then you learn, well, a baby is made because you come inside of the vagina, and that your sperm fertilizes the egg, and a baby is created. Now, if you think the natural thing to do is to pull out and come on the girl's face, I mean, say what you will, but that might actually just be like an unintended consequence of that might be a lack, a dimming down of a lower number of teenage pregnancies. Because, you're not going to fertilize the egg when you're fertilizing the eyeball, or whatever the fuck you want to say. You get the point. If your sexual education is, the way sex happens is you fuck a girl in a bunch of different positions. First of all, the way sex happens is you start with a situation that could possibly happen in normal life. Or if you're into weird shit, maybe it's happening on another planet. Or it's just something that would never happen. Maybe some weird S&M shit. I don't know. But, you start with a slight, maybe you might kiss on the mouth a little bit. But it's more just sucking on people's bodies, then it turns into oral, then it turns into multiple positions, then you come on the girl's face. If that's what you think sex is, and an unintended consequences of that is less teenage pregnancy, because you know that sex is not supposed to be about coming inside the girl. I mean, that's not even that great for the camera. You know what I'm saying? Can't really see much unless you have a GoPro on the end of your penis. Maybe they should do that. They should have a small GoPro that goes right on your penis tip. And you can go slow-mo insertion, and you're inside, and, I don't know what I'm talking about here, but, shit, oh, fuck, I better get my stuff together. I'm 23 minutes into this shit. I guess this is Wednesday morning, so maybe this won't be out till later tonight anyway. I'm gonna fuck with some questions and shout-outs. I'll try to get some together, and then I'll continue, all right? Check. Is this thing on? On the road with Wax. Listening to Wax's podcast. Talking mad shit about uninteresting facts. Just can't wait to listen to Wax's podcast every Wednesday. What's up, y'all? I am back. I'm sorry. It's Friday morning, and I'm recording my podcast in between a bunch of tasks. I'm trying to get this shit done. I'm trying to get it out, and I do this for the people. I do my podcast for the people, the listeners, and people worldwide that feel like they need to listen to a bunch of nonsense for a while to get by during their day. I'm assuming a lot of you that listen to this podcast probably listen at work or maybe in your car when you're in traffic, things like that. I know that you're not like, oh, I have something fun to do. Why don't I, instead of that, listen to Wax's podcast? I know what podcasts are for. I know what purpose they serve, and I know when they're listened to by you. They're listened to when you really, really don't have fucking anything else better to do, or the unfortunate times in life where you just want time to pass. Isn't that unfortunate about life that, in so many situations, mainly work situations, you really are just waiting for time to pass when we are only given a certain amount of time to even be alive on this planet, and we really should utilize every second to the best of our abilities and make our lives exciting and interesting, but so much time, so often, we are just waiting for shit to happen.
To me, there's no way to cool.
So now I'm fucking on this tour bus, and actually two people. No, it's all good. It's all good. I'm just doing what's that? Do I do a different voice?
You're in speech voice.
Oh, because I was kind of about to go in on some shit before you guys walked in.
Yeah, you're in explanatory mode.
So I'm doing my podcast, and I'm gonna keep this podcast going on the road. I'm doing the on the road version of the podcast because I failed last time. The last tour we did when we went to Europe and all across America, I failed. I failed.
Miserably.
Now I feel like I want to really put on the speech voice. I failed you, but never again, listeners and America. But, yeah, so I'm just sitting here waiting in this tour bus, waiting to make shit happen with the almighty EOM who just walked in.
Hey!
And I'll tell you a little later about what exactly we're doing, but I think now me and E have to go buy hand trucks and camping showers. So that's the kind of life we're living right now. I'll be back in a little bit. All right, sorry about the interruption. We are on the road, so it's hectic. Let me get to some questions and shout-outs here. Shout-outs. TJL. Andres P. from Jersey. Yassine. Ben Toons. Mike W. from North Haven, Maine. Saddam Hussein. Julia the school teacher. Moises R. Robert G. Rico from Texas. EJ from Purdue. Dwight G. Tux. Mad Myers. Leor M. from Israel. Ian from Toronto. Andrew M. Brian the Observer. Sophia L., Daniel from England, Jonas from Norway, Geoff, and Matt from Maryland. All right, let's see here. Fuck, this is weird doing this shit on this bus like this. Yeah, I got EOM in the house right now. I don't know if you can hear him, but he's in the background. All right, this is from Nate. What's up, Wax? Got a quick recommendation here. The song Without You could be spelled with a U in some cases, so without, space, the letter U, by Spooky Black. Enough said, just check it out. And I did check it out, and that shit was tight, so thanks for the recommendation, Nate. All right, I got Brett G. from San Diego. His recommendations. Lo-Fi Blow Dry, the album by Herbal Tea. I couldn't recommend that even more. I think this is a book, actually. Lying, by Sam Harris. Another recommendation from Brett G. is doing yoga daily. 20 minutes before breakfast and 40 minutes before bed equals 1 hour a day that will change your life for the better. Sleep better. Feel better. Use YouTube. Free apps to do it on your own so you can do it twice every day. And his final recommendation is flossing daily. Get your gum health right. Fresh breath and whiter smiles. I know it sounds dumb, but there's a reason dentists always recommend that shit. It's important for your health. Well, thanks, Brett G. from San Diego. We all appreciate your advice. I'm not going to read that. Goddamn. All right. This is from Derek A. I know your first tour was with McGregor, but my question is, how were you able to put together a tour? What kind of venues did you play, and how did you go about booking them? Same thing with the low-budget mystery tour. How did you book shows since you weren't nearly as popular as you are now? Well, that's an interesting question, Derek A. And I think that if you're in a band or if you're an artist of some sort and you're trying to book a tour, the way to go about it at the beginning is just think about what cities you want to go to. And now with the internet and everything at your fingertips, it's more easy than ever to find out what clubs they have there that are music venues. And they usually have a booking contact. They usually maybe even a phone number. And you can make like a template email that kind of describes in relatively brief terms your band's music, and especially say things that in the email that makes them think that you can like sell tickets in that city. And at first you got to lie a little bit. Like say that you think if you think that 10 people will come out, say that you think 100 people will come out. And when you get to the city, just do your best to promote it, hand out flyers, things like that. Hopefully they'll book you. A lot of times they won't, but you just got to. If they don't, you just got to find another place that maybe will. That's how me and my brother did it on the tour you were talking about. It was difficult. A lot of the places we played were strange places, weird little coffee shops. And in one city, Minneapolis, we actually even just couldn't book a show, so we just showed up at a place on the night where they do open mic nights. And if you watch our low-budget mystery tour Minneapolis episode, you'll be able to see the hilarity that ensued there. what else we got going on here? So we got I don't know what else we got here. Pause this for a second. All right, damn. I know this podcast is going to be a little bit all over the place, but that's how it might end up being. I'm going to try to find a better way to do this, maybe. But, if I'm in the front of the bus, basically the way this, I don't know if I talked about this before, but since this is the on-the-road version of Wax's podcast, the way this bus is, first of all, it's fucking awesome. It's a big luxury. And at the beginning of the bus, you walk up, there's the driver, and you come back and there's seats along the side. It almost looks like one of those party buses. And then there's also like a little like a fucking booth. Like if you had a table for four, more like it'd be a small table for four and a big table for two booth style at a diner. And then if you keep walking back, there's like a middle section that has 12 bunks where everybody sleeps. And then in the back, there's kind of like a lounge with a big ass TV and like circular couch. So you can watch movies and play video games and shit back here. But for now, I'm back here because I just kept getting distracted by people walking on and off the bus. So I will continue the podcast from this area, and hopefully we can just read a couple more questions and shit like that. So let me find where I was at. So I'm here at the Warped Tour, and this is going to be a funny summer because I just walked around. And everybody here is mad young, and it's super punk rock, hardcore, and I don't know, it's going to be an interesting summer. I already did the shout-outs, already read Nate's recommendation and Brett G's recommendation, and Derek's question. Oh, shit, are these other ones not showing? Yeah, all right, this was from Pharaoh M. This is basically a story he wanted to tell. I thought it was kind of cool. All right, this will be a long email, but it's kind of worth it. I am a pedicab driver in Austin, Texas. For those who aren't familiar with what a pedicab is, it's basically a tricycle with a bench on the back. I transport humans around the city for a living. My job is similar to waiting tables, I feel, because a huge portion, in my opinion, is based on how happy and talkative you are. Nobody wants a ride from a pessimistic mope. I feel charisma and charm also increase the amount of money customers give. All my career, I've been trying to discover the perfect sales pitch. What do I say to get someone on my cab? I've been playing with country accents and telling jokes, and that's been working well. Then one day, this idea hit me. I sampled your lyrics from a Dale Firebird video. I rolled up to some people walking, and in a country accent, I said, "Guys, I've got the craziest, all caps, story. This intro is perfect because it actually gives power to the potential customer. If they care, they'll ask what happened. If they don't give a shit, they'll ignore you. The ball is in their court." This particular couple was interested. The man sincerely asked, "What happened?" That's when I laid it down. I said, "Man, I was out here in Austin, Texas, having a sausage breakfast when this motherfucker came in talking reckless. So you know what I did? I stabbed him in the neck with my shark tooth necklace." This man, I swear to God, was about to piss himself with laughter. He was definitely kind of drunk. For the record, I know that's not exactly how your Dale Firebird rhyme went. I changed it slightly to make it work for the situation. This dude thought it was the greatest shit he had ever heard and said, "Son, you have no idea who you're dealing with." I said, in my country accent still, "No, sir, I haven't the slightest idea. Perhaps you care to enlighten me." He and his wife then got on my cab, and he gives me the directions to his luxury downtown Austin loft. We roll up to his gated, beautiful high-rise, and security lets us in. The dude hands me a 20 for like 13 minutes of my time and says, "Wait here." I say, "No problem," and wait for him to return. When this man returns, he has a fucking shark tooth in his hands. He goes on to explain that he is a scuba diving enthusiast and actually found that tooth himself while diving off the coast of some exotic country. He wanted me to have it. Now I have a shark tooth sitting on display in my room. He then wanted me to take it back to the bar he was originally near. When we arrived, he gave me an additional $50. So thanks, Dale. Because of you, he gave me an additional $50. Damn. Because of you, I earned $70 in a shark tooth. Hope you don't mind if I continue to sample your rhymes as a sales pitch out here in Austin, Texas. Well, Farrell, that is an awesome story, and I wanted to read that to the listeners. It's amazing. I fucking wrote those little lyrics as kind of jokingly on a piece of paper probably and said that shit as Dale Firebird, and now it just made you $70 in a shark tooth. So yes, continue to use that shit. Some people will probably look at you like you're crazy, but
just for this one time, it was worth it, and I am honored to have helped you in that way. So thanks for the email, and let's continue on. This email is by Cool Hand Luke. What up, Wax? Haven't emailed you in a bit, but I've been catching up on the podcast and wanted to let you know we still appreciate you putting it out whenever you have the chance. Well, I'm gonna try on this tour to put it out as often as I can. I'm gonna say right now that I might not be able to do this shit every Wednesday, but I'm gonna try to do it once a week when I can, and just put this on the road podcast version together. On the last podcast, you mentioned how you're sometimes depressed and that you think it has to do with how often you think about death and ponder the meaning/purpose of life. I just wanted to weigh in on this because I'm pretty sure most people have at least at some point felt this. Definitely myself included, and the thought seems to get progressive with age. I discovered a way to deal with it that works for me, so I thought I'd share it in case it would be helpful for anyone else. Essentially, while high with my girl one night, I watched a few episodes of a series that I believe was called How the Universe Works, or some shit like that. Or some shit like that was not part of the title. That was his words. It talked about how that'd be funny as shit though, if it was How the Universe Works, in parentheses, or some shit like that. Because that's pretty much what we know about the universe. We don't really know how it works. Everything we say is it's some shit like that. We could just be a grain of sand in an infinite beach. I don't fucking know. It talked about how the universe on one side is constantly expanding outward, while on the opposite side it's constantly dying, for lack of a better word. This got me to thinking about the temporariness of everything, and if I stop to try to figure out why I'm here and just accept the natural beauty of this cycle, I can stop pondering my purpose and enjoy my moment in the sun. So whenever interrogative thoughts about why any of us are here start invading my brain, I just think back to that epiphany and say, fuck it, let me just enjoy my moment in the sun. Sorry if I'm rambling a bit. I just wanted to address that because from listening to the podcast, it always seems like we have similar philosophical issues. Anyways, I also have a recommendation for the podcast listeners. For those who don't already have it, Wax's Unplugged album is, in my opinion, quite underrated. And it's actually my favorite project of yours to listen to. That's awesome. The energy is great, and you guys got me fucking wilding out while I work to songs like So What and Pay Cut, which you kill live with herbs. Anyway, that's it for now. Keep up the dope work, and I'll tell you to be safe out there, but it doesn't matter anyways. We're all going to die. Well, I appreciate you liking that Unplugged album, man. I really do. There was actually a lot of work that went into that one. Getting that shit recorded and mixed and booking the show and promoting the show and blah, 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 blah. There was a lot of work that went into that Unplugged one. So it's not just some bullshit like, we were having a show, so we put a microphone up and then made it a free album. There's a lot of work into that. Anyway, and there's some joints on there that you can't find on any of my other projects, such as So What. As far as the other things you were saying, I think that's the attitude I'm trying to develop as well. I'm trying to develop the attitude of I think I've mentioned before, there's a philosophy called absurdism, which really just is saying that trying to figure out the meaning of life is ridiculous because life itself is a bit ridiculous and absurd. A lot of things are. I was just talking to somebody the other day, telling them, this urge we have to have sex to make friction between a penis and a vagina, and humping. Humping is kind of ridiculous and funny, and it especially is because that's what our life is based on. The only reason there's so fucking many of us is because of that urge to fucking hump on one another, and eventually get to this brief moment of high and fucking ejaculate. That's what our whole species is based on. All this shit where people dying, people starving, then the other end of people just riding around in private jets, like the stock market. All this shit happened because people want to just fucking hump on each other and create friction on their skin. That's the only reason we have this. And that's absurd in itself. And to figure out the meaning behind of all of it, as people try to do, I think people try to think of a meaning of life because they don't know exactly how to live or what the point of living is, and we're all scared to die, so there has to be some kind of meaning. That's why most religions, almost all religions, I feel like, have some kind of afterlife. So, the meaning of life is that there's something that comes after it, and you're preparing for that, whether that be by not sinning or praying a certain way or whatever the fuck you do to make your afterlife awesome, because that's the real life. is the afterlife, and this is some practice life, or more like a trial in a way. But I think that your way of looking at it as just kind of pretty much there is no meaning is helpful to people, as long as you consider, be nice to others, and the golden rule is really the only rule you should make sure you absolutely follow, unless you're suicidal, because then what you would do to yourself is kill yourself, so you would kill others. So don't follow the golden rule if you're suicidal. Yeah, I think that you're right about that, man. I think you have to find your own purpose in life. For some people, even myself, really, kind of lucky that I have a thing that I do. Like people that do music, it's a relative. I mean, this is very arguable, but it's relatively pure. Like it's the most absurd thing ever. You make sound to rhythms, and people like move their body around to it. It's fucking ridiculous. But it's kind of like a thing you do because you have an instinct, and it makes me feel bad for people that have nothing like that and they don't instinctually do things. But for a lot of people, that instinct is really more like, a lot of women, for example, like their thing is motherhood. That's what their dream is, to be a mom. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's actually one of the most natural things, natural instincts we have. And I'm not, you pretty much covered it. There's not too much deeper I can get into it. And that's all the questions I have. I'm only in like 42 minutes on this podcast. I did want to play the homie Lance from Australia. I guess a couple podcasts ago, there was somebody, I can't remember exactly where this is from, and I apologize to it, but somewhere in the late 50s, one of the podcasts, there was a person from New Zealand who used the phrase "can't be fucked," and I didn't know what that meant. So Lance from Australia was nice enough to team up with some people he worked with at his radio station and make a little example audio about what "can't be fucked" means. So let's listen to that real quick.
Wax's Podcast, talking mad shit about uninteresting facts. Wax's Podcast, coming to you every occasional Wednesday.
So, Lance told me to check out this wax dude on YouTube, but seriously, I just can't be fucked.
Do you want to watch the footy?
Nah, I can't be fucked changing the channel.
Are you going to do the dishes or not?
Nope. Sorry, can't be fucked.
How the fuck are you, cunt?
Mate, to be honest, I couldn't be fucked telling you. Look, there's a lot of things I'd like to do today, but I just can't be fucked.
So, as a dumb American, it makes it 10 times funnier that you just have an accent that I'm not used to. That's a place I've never been. Australia is a place I've never been. New Zealand's a place I've never been. And those are on the top list of places I want to go, along with Japan. Maybe I could do that all in one trip. Hopefully one day I'll be able to do some shows out in Australia, but until then, we'll just see what happens. It's really expensive to get out there, and especially if I want to bring a band out there and all that good shit. So in the meantime, I will spend my entire summer living on this bus. There's not a shower on this bus, so people are going to be stinking like a motherfucker soon. I will be walking around at the Warped Tour, which is a funny event in itself. Very young crowd, a lot of 13-year-olds that are extremely excited. One of the stages is actually sponsored by a candy. If you remember the candy Warheads, like those sour fucking gumballs, I didn't even know them joints were still in existence. But not only are they in existence, but they are a sponsor on the Warped Tour. And when I say that it's a young crowd, I mean, I think that gives you like a bit of a clue if the fucking stage is sponsored by candy. You know what I'm saying? But I don't have any problem with it being a young crowd. When I was that age, that's when I was really, really into music and going to shows as well. So I fully understand it, but I'm also very far removed from that sugar and energy drink-driven burst of excitement and being away from your parents for the day and with your friends and let's try weed for the first time and smoke cigarettes and fucking the only thing you think about is the only thing that defines you is what clothes you wear and what music you listen to and shit like that. I'm so far removed from that it's hard for me to relate necessarily to people that are 13. You know what I'm saying? So all I can do is hope for the best and go up there, go up on that stage and do my thing. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna do is play the show. I'm gonna meet if you go to the Warped Tour. Don't take this as a diss, and I'm not dissing anybody for being young. I fucking wish I was young too. But if you go, there are gonna be some fucking sick bands. Actually, there's definitely some good music being played. So I'd recommend it, and it's really really excellent people watching. There's a lot of bands have sick, real cool shirts. So it's like a fucking mall of band merch out there. And I got some new shirts. Quick plug, come get my tank top. But yeah, I got some new shit, and come holler at me, because me and Watsky, we have a shared merch tent. And after the set, and probably a lot just during the day, we're going to be over there just kicking it, saying what's up to people, taking pictures, signing babies, fingering your girlfriend if you want us to. I'm just kidding. That's just a bad joke. We've been talking about that. When you spend a lot of time in a car with people, especially clever people like me and Watsky and our whole crew, EOM, we're all kind of like jokesters in our own way. And then whenever somebody says something, it's kind of like the goal to make a comment where you take whatever they said and make it either funny or make it either offensive or turn it back at them as an insult. And the thing is, if you're kind of driven by comedic remarks, you're going to fail sometimes. Like, I might have just failed with the finger your girlfriend thing. That probably wasn't that funny. It was in bad taste, especially considering I just talked about how young everybody at the show was. So, if I said most people here are 13, and you come to the thing and you want me to finger your girlfriend and she's 13, that'd be, visually alone, that's a disturbing image, and it's an illegal activity. So I don't see anything humorous in that. Do you? But I guess I did, because I just giggled a little bit. But my point is that if you're trying to make humorous remarks all the time, you're inevitably going to have a couple of times where you fail. And when you fail, everybody makes fun of you for failing. And some people even respond to your failure with another attempt at humor that's a failure in itself. So the cycle continues and continues and continues until finally somebody says something that it's actually funny, and everybody laughs, and everybody has a good time. Speaking of the Warped Tour, my brother, as I know there was one episode of the podcast where I played my brother's voicemails. Maybe he'll build up enough voicemails of this shit he's been doing recently that on the road again, listening to Wax's podcast, talking shit about uninteresting facts. Just can't wait for the Warped Tour with Wax. But maybe if he leaves enough of these messages that he's been leaving me, maybe I'll put together a compilation of them and play them on the podcast. But he created this character that is called Stevie C, and Stevie C is like kind of like the head production coordinator or one of the production coordinators at the Warped Tour. And he just leaves me these funny ass messages, be like, "Hey, Wax, man, Stevie C here. Just want to let you know at the Iowa City event, you'll be going on stage at 3. We got the Alien Workshop team doing a demo behind you. So in between each song, if you could like do an acid drop right onto the stage and introduce all the riders, He says it's fucking dumb. It's probably, if you don't know what the Warped Tour is, it doesn't even make sense. But he has this funny character he does where he's like this Warped Toured out guy. And maybe if he leaves enough of them, I will put together an Herbal Tea voicemail compilation. That was a new segment on Wax's podcast. And as things are on Wax's podcast, when I say I have a new segment, that usually means I do it one time. As like when I found Dumb's lyrics and I read his random lyrics from the notebook. I only did that once. I only did the Herbal Tea voicemail segment once. Even when I first started the podcast, I had a bunch of segments when I called people. But I'm not a consistent dude. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't put out a podcast last week. I didn't put out an album recently. I gotta fucking do that. I'm inconsistent. You know what I mean? I'm not somebody that you can rely on. I'm not somebody that you can count on. I'm not somebody that when the going gets tough, I get going. When the going gets tough, I just don't do it. When the going gets tough, take a break. When the going gets tough, don't work hard and try to keep up with your schedules. Just create your own schedule that makes the going less tough. That's my advice to you. That's how I get by. And somehow, It's been years and years and years since I've had to work a regular job. Knock on fucking wood that'll still continue to happen, because it probably won't. But maybe the next time I get into the studio, I'll write another Rosanna. And before you know it, me and EOM are flying on jets across the Atlantic Ocean, doing shows for on the island of Mallorca again, and I will be a 2-hit wonder over there, maybe, and not just a 1-hit wonder. We shall see. Only time will tell. Maybe I'll write a song maybe I'll just write a song that's just like Rosanna. I'll find another Hispanic female name. Maybe I could. There's a lot of them that like Maria, Maria. That was a big song. There was another song called Rosanna by Toto. It was a big song back in like the early '80s. There's got to be other ones too. And the woman's name being the title of the song is a popular. It's definitely happened many times in pop music. We shall see if it happens again. One of these Speaking of the Warped Tour, probably a Warped Tour type of band back when they were popular. That Delilah song. It's an interesting name. Probably the interestingness of the name was probably part of what made that song popular. Stevie Wonder had that song that now escapes my mind. It was about a fucking woman. Can't remember now. Michael Jackson had multiple songs about women. Billie Jean was one of them. What was that other fucking song on that same fucking album that was a woman's name? Why? Dirty Diana was a song about a woman. Maybe I could just do that. Make another video that makes little kids and senior citizens want to masturbate to the girl, and then all of a sudden, me and EOM are in a fucking luxury hotel in Berlin. That's really how it happened, folks. That's how it happened, and it could happen again. If not, I'm just gonna make a dope ass rap album for all my people that have been fucking with me for years. That's my plan. In case you didn't know, my plan going forward is that my next album I might actually make 2 joints. I want to make another Wax and EOM album, and then I want to make another Wax album that's like all just cool shit that I want to do. I'm not going to think anything about, some of it might come out sounding like, structurally it'll sound still like a pop song, verse, chorus, whatever, But I'm not going to think about any of that kind of radio shit. But on the other hand, a business I'm trying to get into and I think I'll be good at is just writing pop songs. Not for myself to sing, but for other people to sing. Me and my boy Davey, we have a lot of fun and just fuck around and write these kind of songs. And sometimes it turns out like, damn, like Rihanna could sing this shit. Or in the case of me writing this shit, I write a lot of country songs. Like I actually just wrote a badass country song yesterday about Walmart. So fuck with your boy. We'll see what the future holds. But my goal is to never, ever again have to enter the corporate world. This is what I'm saying to you right now, and I'm not going to take this back. If I ever have to do something that involves a resume ever again, I'm not going to say I'll jump off a building, but I might become one of those kids that cut themselves on the wrist occasionally. I might do self-harm. I might self-harm myself with razor blades. Let's put it that way. I will hand in my resume with blood drops on it because I will have fucking scarred myself on top of the resume, and it's going to say special qualities, ... of blood. Ability to make songs that are about girls who like to have sex a lot and then get a platinum record in Switzerland, ... of blood. Schooling, University of Maryland, ... blood. Lars Recording School, ... blood. That's what the fuck my resume is going to look like, because I never ever want to have to work a regular job again. I know a lot of you out there listening right now are at your regular job and you feel me. So my advice basically is don't ever try to fulfill your dreams, because once you have fulfilled them, you can only go down. The spiral goes down. It's a fucking downward spiraling staircase, except instead of walking gracefully down the spiral staircase, you're pushed down there in a Sonic the Hedgehog ball, but not as graceful as Sonic the Hedgehog. It's more like just a fucking flailing descent of fucking occasional head smacking on the steps and railing. That's how the downward spiral goes. So you don't want that to happen. So just don't follow your dreams. You know. I might actually I'm gonna fucking listen to what I just said back, so I can memorize what I just said. And before I play my last song here at the Warped Tour, I'm gonna give that anti-inspirational speech to all the kids. So they will not follow their dreams, and that, since they're all probably aspiring musicians, that leaves more room open for me. You know, it's all about numbers. It's all about numbers. It's a numbers game. And what the fuck am I even talking about, man? All right, 55 minutes. That's not a bad podcast length. It's not too shabby, folks. So I got to figure out. I'm using GarageBand. I got to relearn as I do it. Every time I do something, I always have to relearn how to do it. So I got to figure out how to like export this. Then I got to find some internet and get this shit uploaded so you can fucking listen to it. Thank you. Good night, and be safe out there.